Hey, Larken Rose here. If you're a moral nihilist or a sociopath, you can just move on. This video is just for people who consider themselves to be good people. You view yourself as one of the good guys and you want truth and justice to prevail. And that's just about the only qualifier for who I want to watch this video, whether you're politically left or right or don't pay any attention to politics or something in the middle, whatever, I don't care. If you're trying to be a decent person and you view yourself as being on the side of righteousness, cool, this video is for you. There is another qualifier of who I want to watch this video, though. One more test. Do you understand that there are some nasty, bad people in the world? If not, go away. If you really don't know that there are some nasty human beings in the world, never mind, move on, have fun with your delusions. And do you understand that some of those nasty people are pretty smart and clever? If not, move on. Okay, so if you're a decent person who means well and you view yourself as one of the good guys and you understand there are bad people in the world and some of those bad people are smart, I have a pretty simple question for you. Trouble is, asking it is a lot simpler than honestly answering it for most people. The question is this. Okay, there you are with your feelings and your emotions and sometimes your righteous outrage and indignation at some of the evil things you see going on in the world, which, good for you. There's plenty that people should be outraged about. There's plenty of not at all good things going on. So the question is, when it comes to your emotions and your outrage and your righteous anger, how often do you make sure that your emotions and your good intentions and your desire for righteous justice and all that aren't being used against you? That you aren't being tricked by some of those nasty, horrible people into going rah, rah, rah for something that you really shouldn't because you don't really know what's going on. To put the question another way, are you willing and able to put a pause on your emotions long enough to make sure you're not being deceived and manipulated and used and played as a pawn? Because you can have all the love in the world and all the good intentions and all the righteous zeal and all that you want, but if you can be tricked to not understand really what's going on, then you can be tricked to cheer for people you shouldn't cheer for because they're nasty psychos. You can be tricked into believing certain things which will make you get all riled up and then support something that isn't really the good thing that you want and that you assumed it was, and that it pretended to be. So the question is, do you bother to take the time to be careful that your good intentions and your feeling of righteousness isn't being used against you? Or do you care more about the feeling that makes you feel righteous and virtuous? You're on the right side because you're out there protesting this or objecting to this or advocating that or voting for this guy or that party or whatever. Which matters to you more? Your ego and the feeling that you're better than others because of your good intentions and righteousness and moral stance on whatever? Does that matter to you more than whether what you're actually doing is harming innocent people? If it turns out that you were going rah, rah, rah from the best of intentions, like you actually wanted truth and justice to prevail, but you were going rah, rah, rah for things that hurt innocent people, would you want to know about it? Would you even be able to consider the possibility? Or once you get that emotional momentum of, I'm on the right side and this is righteous, will you kind of try to not really look carefully at the actual real world results of what it is that you are condoning or what you're doing or what you're saying. Because, as you know, per the beginning of this video, there are nasty, devious people in the world who are pretty smart. And a lot of them find ways to use good people as their pawns. They don't come out and say, hey, I'm doing some evil stuff over here. Any of you good people want to give me like money and power so I can go do evil stuff? Because all the good people would say, no thanks, don't want to support evil stuff. Which is why literally every single tyrant in history, without exception, has said, no, I'm protecting my country, I'm stopping this bad thing, I'm fighting against this bad thing, and I need your help and your support and your vote and your tax dollars and your whatever else to do these good, righteous things. And then lots of well-intentioned people under every one of those horrible tyrannical regimes went rah, rah, rah and gave their support and their money and their verbal support and their time and their energy supporting something that was destructive and hurt good people. Do you care enough about other people that you're willing to pause your own good feelings of righteousness long enough to actually make sure that you're supporting something that isn't destructive and immoral and anti-human because you just didn't know it was that. You didn't recognize it was that. You didn't want it to be that. You wanted to believe that you were going rah, rah, rah for something righteous and good and helpful and all that. If you vote Democrat, your good intentions are being hijacked and used against you to support evil. But if you vote Republican, your goodness is being used against you to have you support evil. But if you vote Independent, your goodness is being used against you to support evil. But if you vote at all for a ruling class, for any authoritarian power, for any government, any political power whatsoever, your good intentions are absolutely being used against you to achieve things that are not the goodness that you think you're driven by. And maybe you really are driven by that goodness. But you're being tricked into being a pawn. Now, when I say that, every Democrat and every Republican is going to, well, I'm not. Yeah, the other party, they're totally being tricked. I can't believe they believe they're politicians and don't see how corrupt their side is. Yeah, it's not difficult to be judgmental about other people being fooled. I'm not asking, are you capable of considering the possibility that other people have been fooled by the people they vote for? Whoop-de-doo, of course you are. Everybody can do that. Not only is that easy, it's tempting and righteous. And yeah, I get to point out how stupid the people are who voted for that corrupt garbage on the other side. The question is whether you're capable of and willing to test to see whether you're doing the same damn thing. Whether you're actually advocating things that, unbeknownst to you, or maybe beknownst to you, mostly unbeknownst to you, are evil and destructive and hurting innocent people. Do you care enough about actual morality to pause your ego long enough to make sure you're not helping hurt innocent people? If you vote, the answer is no. You weren't careful enough. You absolutely were not. Now, I know you're going to say, what are you talking about? I vote for people who are going to save this country. Blah, blah, blah. The left says it, the right says it, everybody says it. Everybody who votes think that they're voting for goodness. Okay, does any political candidate run on badness? Vote for me because I want bad stuff? No. So the vast majority of the voters, of everybody, including the worst tyrants in history, many of whom were indeed elected into power through democratically elected constitutional republics that we're supposed to believe are like super duper righteous and the most brilliant institutions ever. No, that was the worst tyrannies and ever have been in history, have been democratically elected constitutional republics. The Weimar Republic, USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, Mao's Red China, People's Republic of China, North Korea, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, so on and so forth. Weimar Republic turned into Nazi Germany. The Nazis were voted into power in a republic. The first uncomfortable thing for a lot of people to think about is that most of the people who voted those evil monstrosities into power, they meant well. It's not that Germany suddenly turned evil, or Russia suddenly turned evil, or China suddenly turned evil, or huge numbers of people in these random countries suddenly went from good to evil, and then there was like a war or something and a collapse, and then they got good again. It's not how reality works. The entire time, almost everybody voting meant well. They thought they were supporting good things, and then nasty things happened, and some people realized along the way, oh, that's not what I wanted to support. I didn't realize that was what was going on. So the fact that you think you voted for the right guy makes you not unique in any way, shape, or form at all, ever. Every voter thinks that. Everyone thinks that, including the people you vote against, including the people you mock as supporters of, you support this evil, corrupt, blah, 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 blah. If you're on the right, you might say it about the left. On the left, you might say it about the right. And it's easy for you to recognize, oh, you're supporting this thing that are destructive and evil for all these reasons. Okay? And you're probably right about them, at least for a bunch of that. How about you? Are you supporting things that are destructive and hurting innocent people as a result of your own good intentions combined with your strongly held political beliefs? Because that's the problem with strongly held political beliefs, is that once you have a loyalty to a candidate or a party or whatever, once you've sort of put your name behind that, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm a whatever the heck, once you've declared yourself to be that, you know that if something comes out that says, oh yeah, the guy you voted for, turns out he's a sleazeball, horrible human being and did nasty things, you know that you don't want that to be true. And that's perfectly natural. If you want rah-rah-rah for somebody, you don't want to find out, oh, he's like this horrible, predatory scumbag. Okay, not wanting that to be true is one thing. What comes next? Trying to not find out whether it's true? Because that's what most people do. No, besides, the other guy's even worse. Is that what you do? That's what most Democrats and most Republicans do. If they hear something horrible about their own guy, most of them don't pause and go, wait a minute. If I'm one of the good guys, if we're about righteousness, then if our guy is doing evil crap, shouldn't we, in this party, in this club, in this group, or shouldn't we be the first and the loudest to condemn that and say, holy crap, that's not what we're about? Have you ever seen that happen in any political party? In any movement? Or do people make excuses and point fingers in the other direction? And blah, blah, blah? Because once they have that loyalty, suddenly their good intentions, well, they kind of take a back seat to loyalty to a political party or candidate. And then they make excuses. And sometimes the excuses get ridiculous. You can see a bunch of Trump supporters doing that now. You could see a bunch of Obama supporters doing that before. You could see Clinton supporters doing that. You could see Bush supporters doing that. Every time it comes out that, oh, the guy in power is doing the nasty things that people in power always do. Huh. Well, what do his voters have to say about it? Sometimes some will be critical and go, this is horrible, this isn't what we want. And a whole lot of others will say, well, it wasn't that bad. Or maybe we don't even believe it. Besides, the other side is even worse. Is that who you want to be? Do you want to be somebody who makes excuses for a person in power who does things you know are wrong? That downplays it or says, well, it's not as bad as the other one. In other words, it's one thing if you get tricked into something, you just didn't know any better, you had good intentions, but then you supported something that turned out to be horrible. It's another thing if, when the information comes out showing that it was something horrible, you make excuses for it. Because, to be blunt, that means you're not a good person. Because a good person who supports something good and then finds out, whoops, the guy I was going rah, rah, rah for, he isn't that good person. He doesn't support that good stuff. He's pushing some nasty stuff. Why would you hesitate to condemn that? Why wouldn't you want to be first and loudest to say, wow, that's not what I'm about? In any other context, would you do that? Have you heard somebody giving a speech? Hey, that made a lot of sense. And then you found out, oh, he kicks puppies in his spare time. Would you start making excuses for puppy kickers? Or would you go, oh, that's horrible? I liked his speech, but what the hell? That's wrong. I'm going to condemn that. Why does almost nobody do that when it comes to politics? Because when you choose a side in the political game, you become psychologically invested in something. And so I will boil this down to this question. To Republicans, to Democrats, don't care, just to human beings who believe in government at all, who vote for anybody. Does your psychological attachment to your political party or just political category, conservative, liberal, whatever, does that matter more to you than protecting innocent human beings? Are you capable of thinking about that? Because I can give you the cheat sheet and tell you, if you still vote, your good intentions, your moral code, your desire for truth and justice absolutely matters to you less than your attachment to political affiliation. Because there is so much evidence out there on both sides staring you in the face, showing that if you voted for either side, you voted for evil, corrupt psychopaths. And if your response to that is to make excuses and complain about the other evil psychopaths, you're not a good person. I don't know a nice way to say that. If you go out of your way to not look at evidence and information that's just staring you in the face that shows that what you've been supporting is destructive and harming innocent people, how can you call yourself a good person? It's one thing if you had good intentions and you thought they were doing good stuff, and then you found out, oh, nope, they were hurting innocent people. If you're actually a good person and that happens, then you're going to be first in line to say, this is not what I wanted, this is not what I supported, this is horrible, and that person betrayed us, or this party betrayed us and is doing something evil and heinous, this is not what I believe in. Why does almost nobody do that? Almost nobody on the left, almost nobody on the right does that. Now, eventually, some people can finally be brought to the point where they go, yeah, I cannot support this anymore. But it usually takes a really long time and things have to get really damn bad before most people will do that. And then when they do, not only does the party and the establishment and the candidate just attack the hell out of that person for their lack of loyalty to somebody who's been shown to be like some corrupt, psychotic predator, but lots and lots of the people who still support the psycho will be first and loudest to condemn the one person who says, I supported this because I thought it was good, and now I see that it isn't, and I can't support it anymore. Are you that person? Or are you one in the big crowd that says, shut up! If you don't support my guy and my party, then you're evil. You're just as bad as the other guy. Because if you're that, you are exactly who empowered the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany and Red China and North Korea. Because your political loyalty mattered to you more than right and wrong. Now, if that's not true, if right and wrong and justice and protecting the innocent, if all those things matter to you more than any candidate, any political affiliation, prove it with your words and actions. Prove it.